Not everything needs an inherent purpose, necessarily. This is my channel, I can do what I want with it. However, I will establish the purpose of this video. A. Catharsis, as most of my rants have an underlying theme of catharsis for therapy reasons. B. I want to take some folks down a notch so they understand what makes them look like Boo Boo the Fool and how to avoid doing that. And C, I want to use this video like I use my monstrosity video. Whenever I see some stupid shit, I plan on giving the link to this video and the timestamp. And mayhaps a clown emoji if I'm feeling saucy. These are my comment pet peeves. Basically, if you do any of these, you immediately look like a fool to me. A fool that I want to help and give one chance to redeem, or a fool that I will disregard. Let's not dilly-dally. Let's just get into the first one, which is the overarching theme of this video. Pet peeve number 1 is people thinking that this is my first rodeo. If someone makes a 20 to 40 minute video with an argument, and the argument is pretty well put together, and even addresses a lot of the counterclaims that you were about to use, what makes you think your basic-ass counterclaim is good? What makes you think your basic-ass counterclaim is going to sway me in any way? Let's make something clear right now. I don't know how you come to conclusions, but when I build viewpoints and arguments, I am simultaneously looking at every argument possible, picking out the points that make the most sense and discarding the points that make no sense. It is a long, long process. I have not been doing this for only a few years. And in that process, I have come across many of the same repeat arguments hundreds of times. What makes you think that your basic-ass counterclaim will have any effect on me whatsoever? I foresaw you commenting that. I knew you were going to do it. You are not surprising me in any way with your same old recycled garbage. But Nick, you need to take into account other people's viewpoints. Yeah, I already did that. I did that a long time ago. It's just, I've seen your viewpoint before. You aren't special, friend. Your viewpoint is the same old regurgitated garbage that I see to my arguments every single fucking day. So it's not that I haven't considered your viewpoint before, it's that I've decided your viewpoint made no sense and should be trashed, essentially. So coming at me with the most obvious counterclaim just makes you look dumb. Because not only are you insinuating that your counterclaim will do anything to change my seasoned, established, worked-on viewpoint, but that also insinuates that you think you're the only one that has come at me with that argument. You're not. Let's make this very clear right now. Your argument, your counterclaim, to my 40-minute videos establishing my argument, I've seen it before, and I could debunk it very easily if you had the capability to understand my rebuttal. But Nick, that's so arrogant. Maybe so. I don't care what you think about me. In the end, I do not know you. What makes you think I care if you think I'm arrogant or immature? It's just wild to me, I guess, that you thought that your counterclaim was something special. I guess the point of this pet peeve is to make you realize that you need some galaxy brain type shit to make me question my point. And no, that's not to say additions or qualifiers to my argument are bad, necessarily. Additions and qualifiers are encouraged because with the complicated topics that I speak on, there is no way to get everything in the video. So you saying it in the comments is appreciated. However, a whole-ass counterclaim is not an addition or qualifier. It's a counterclaim, a disagreement, And I've seen them all before. That's how I got to the point where I am. Will additions surprise me? Most of the time, no. Additions usually don't surprise me, but they're helpful. Counterclaims that are just basic and not galaxy brain type shit are useless and make you look like Boo Boo the Fool. Nick, you just don't want to have an argument. No, I don't want to have a discussion with someone that has a very basic counterclaim. It's like I'm talking to a child. I do not get paid to be your teacher. Pay me, and I will try and attempt to teach you. Because unfortunately, your counterclaim is just not good enough for us to be on equal footing. It's very obvious to me who's on equal footing with my argument and who isn't on equal footing with me. Sometimes it's like speaking to my peers, having a nice discussion when the discussion is appropriate. And sometimes it's like I'm talking to a 3-year-old. And that all depends on how basic, overused, and recycled your counterclaim is. Pet peeve number 2. I have spoken on these before, and therefore I will link the monstrosity video and the timestamps in the pinned comment. Basically though, if you come at me with all generalizations are bad and a not all argument, use a dumbass. The only thing that I did not mention quite well in my not all rant was that on both ends, nobody should have to say not all. I should not have to make a disclaimer every fucking time I make a general statement. That's bullshit, and you know it. It's implied, stupid. And in the same foul swoop, you don't need to tell me not all. It's implied, stupid. And as for generalizations are bad, my god. You obviously don't know how the human brain works. Yeah, generalizations of the marginalized folks are bad because it oppresses them and adds to a culture of oppression. Me telling an oppressor not to oppress people is not bad. In fact, it's actually helpful to society. The whole not all generalizations thing is like some basic ass shit where whenever I see it, I'm like, you're a liberal, aren't you? All sensitive and shit. Dealing with liberals, millennial and Gen Z, is quite exhausting. That's the only thing I've ever agreed with a conservative on. In the same foul swoop, pet peeve number 3, if you point out that I'm a white person or a man when I'm talking about how white people and men have marginalized people, no shit. No. No, really? I thought I was looking at Casper the Friendly Fucking Ghost when I was looking in the mirror. Are you gonna tell me what 2 + 2 is now? I know I'm a white person, my guy. That comment insinuates that you cannot call out people from your own group. That logic is so dumb, I don't even know where to start. Always call out shitty people, no matter what group they're from. In fact, if you are part of an oppressor group especially, and you do not call out your own oppressor group, use a coward, and quite possibly are not acknowledging a lot of history and culture. Like, there were comments that are like, oof, who's gonna tell him he's a white guy? Well, that's news to me. Go state the obvious somewhere else. Pet peeve number 4. Thinking you get to control how I build my argument and how I don't. As I've said in the past, I will not source things directly if I don't want to. If I feel like it is easy information to find by yourself, then I'm not going to do all of that work for you, that extra work for you, because you demand it. Here's a thought. If you want me to link everything ever that I've just ever looked at for me to get to the point of this argument being sound, then I'm going to need you to pay me for hours of work. I don't get paid a living wage to do this. If you pay me a living salary, I'll consider it. But until then, don't you dare tell me what to do and what not to do with my sources. I will source whatever the fuck I want to source. Dumb fucking racist celebrities? Look that up on your own time. I will source when I feel like it's necessary. You do not get to dictate when I source things and when I don't. Let's make this very clear. You do not own me, and I don't care what you think about my argument, dependent on whether or not I'll source. Do not sit there and act like even if I did source everything I've ever fucking said, you would take my links seriously. Don't act like that you would not disrespect my links, because you would and you know it. You just don't like my argument, and I don't think links to everything I've ever said is going to change that. So it's just wasting my time. You just don't want to believe what I'm saying is supported, and when I do support it, you disrespect my links. So how about this? Go fuck yourself, and don't tell me what to do on my own goddamn channel ever again. But it makes your argument look better. Yeah, you're right. It's a good skill to have to be able to source your arguments. I have that skill. I just don't need to do it for any random fucko on the internet that asks me to. I do not owe links to every random fucko on the internet that asks me for them. And besides, in the end, whether or not you listen to me is not my problem. I don't care whether or not you're going to listen to me or not, believe it or not. I care about the people that actually did listen to me. If you don't listen to me, you're a lost cause. I don't know what pet peeve we're on. It could be 4, it could be 5. But devil's advocates. Don't try to justify or try to defend people that are racist, homophobic, transphobic. Don't do it. I don't care if they're your mother. I don't give a shit who they are to you. If they're homophobic, transphobic, misogynistic, racist, ableist, they're a shitty person because you are adding to a culture of oppression with an opinion that does not deserve to be an opinion in the first place, because identities are not opinions. And most of the time, the justification for playing devil's advocate, especially in the liberal realm, is, well, they were raised that way. They can't help it. Yes, they can. Yes, they fucking can. Don't get me wrong. I actually am a firm believer that nurture is so much more important than nature. However, the distinct difference between nature and nurture, especially in these situations, is that you can't help nature. No conscious choice in your mind can curb nature. That is something out of your hands. Nurture, however, eventually, when you are old enough to realize this, is a choice. You did not choose to be raised in that household, don't get me wrong. But whether or not you are going to stay in those beliefs is your choice. You were influenced, don't get me wrong, but nobody is holding you at gunpoint, and there is literally nothing holding you back but your own ignorance. Do not defend homophobes, transphobes, racists, ableists, misogynists, everyone under the sun that thinks it's okay to think someone else is lesser because of an innately unharmful identity. And I don't want any of you trying to defend these people. Devil's advocates are just Boo-Boo the Fool. Which is a beautiful segue to the next pet peeve, rationalization of shitty ideas. Now, I went on this rant before, but I'll simplify it real quick. If you hide behind the term opinion, viewpoint, belief, to justify being a god-awful person, you're a dumbass. No word or justification you have for your actions can save you from public scrutiny. Yeah, it's your opinion, but opinions don't inherently deserve respect. People always claim free speech. Free speech only protects you from the government. Free speech is not protected from my scrutiny, or any of your other peers. If you say something online, and it's your opinion, but your opinion oppresses people and adds to a culture of oppression, you're a piece of shit. You're just a coward that doesn't want to take responsibility for your shitty opinions. Your lack of accountability makes you look stupid. Your lack of awareness on how opinions and beliefs and viewpoints have actual real-life consequences makes you look stupid. And by the way, any person about to say that someone's opinion doesn't have actual real-life societal consequences, opinions, even in one person, are a small fish, but small fish feed the big fish. The big fish cannot survive without the small fish. You are a part of the problem, whether you like it or not. So if you have an oppressive viewpoint that says certain people are not real, or not valid identities, or are gross identities to you, if you don't respect and tolerate basic identities, and then you hide behind the word opinion to justify that, not only are you stupid, but you're also a coward that does not want to be held accountable. Next pet peeve, straw man. Straw man. So tragic. Straw man is a logical fallacy that I vaguely remember learning in AP Language and Composition. Basically, straw man is when someone in their counterclaim claims that you said something that you didn't, and they think it is a perfectly valid argument. Usually this is out of interpreting the entire argument wrong because they were not actually listening. It's also because a lot of these people don't have actually good, interesting, galaxy brain counterclaims and therefore are grabbing for straws. Oh, so I have to accept all affection and love every trans person throws at me, otherwise it's transphobic? No. Where did I say that, love? Sweetheart, please point out where I said that. That entire argument is based around your implicit biases, your subconscious. In the end, you have the right to say no. The reason you say no may be based upon implicit biases, based upon transphobic views. But in the end, no one is saying you can't say no. No one is saying that, and no one ever did. That is a straw man argument. There are a lot of these that make you look stupid, but straw man arguments always make me go, huh, did you actually listen to the argument? Please actually listen to what I'm saying word for word, because you might miss something very important that otherwise would have kept you from looking dumb. Next one. It's bad in other places or in other people, so I can rationalize the bad in myself or the place that I'm in. This pet peeve has been with me forever, because when I was younger, I was a vehement advocate for a restructuring of the American public school system. However, whenever I said the American public school is kinda fucked, I would always get that one fucko. Well, I mean, it's so much worse in other places, you know? Be grateful for what you have. My guy, I am not ungrateful for the privileges that I've been given. That is not the point of calling for a restructuring of the public school system. The point of calling for the restructuring of the public school system is because it's inefficient. It's just not good. So you're telling me because other places have worse public schools, we can't fix ours? So you're telling me because other people have problems, I can't address my own? And I've also seen this argument framed in a way that tries to oppress women with the oppression of women. These men will be like, I don't think women in the United States are oppressed because they don't have it as bad as women in Saudi Arabia. First of all, how fucking dare you? use women in Saudi Arabia to oppress women in the United States. I don't think the women in Saudi Arabia would take too kindly to you using them as ammo against women in the United States. That's just disrespectful to women in Saudi Arabia and the USA. Second of all, you say that as if you are in Saudi Arabia trying to help those women constantly. Unfortunately, friend, all you've done is use them to oppress women in the United States. You aren't doing anything to help either of them. So how fucking dare you use women in Saudi Arabia to minimize the inherent misogynistic struggles that happen in Western culture? Not only does that make no sense logically, but it's also disrespectful to the women involved. Just because somebody else has it bad does not mean you can't fix your problems. How are we going to help those other people if we're on fire? I cannot help a person on fire if I'm on fire. That's just more fire. Another fun one. That's just how society is. When you say that's just how it is, in regards to me critiquing an ideology that Western culture has instilled upon all of us, that just tells me that you're lazy. That's all it tells me. I know that's how society is, hence why I'm bringing it up and critiquing it, so we can remain critical about what our society believes, and mayhaps after that critique, or with several critiques, society will start to slowly change. Saying that's just how society is to shut down an argument just tells me you don't want to put in the work to change society. Saying that's just how society is as if that's a good argument just tells me you do not understand the purpose of critiquing society in the first place, but it also tells me that you do not want to put in the effort to change society. That's just how society is just a now problem. You just think human society is linear. It's not fluid or can't change. It can. Just people like you are lazy. If every person that said that's just how it is buckled the fuck up and spoke out against certain ideals society has, we'd have enough people to overthrow the ideals that society has. Next one. Everybody has their struggles. This is usually in response to me speaking on marginalized groups and how their experiences differ from those that are not marginalized. Saying that everyone has an equal experience in this Western colonized society is not true. It's just not true. And if you cannot see that, then my friend, I think you're hopeless. People like this just want to minimize the struggle marginalized people go through by saying that it's the same as that of the oppressor. No, it's not. You have never had an actual struggle based upon being white. You have never had an actual struggle based upon being straight. You have not ever had an actual struggle based upon being a man. And you have not had an actual struggle based upon being cis. Yes, you have struggles, but they were not based upon your identities. Everybody has their struggles, but marginalized people go through more than just your basic human life struggle because they are marginalized for their identities that they cannot control. Your oppressor feelings will never be the same as being marginalized in every system of society. Passive rhetoric. I'm the master of rhetoric. I know what you're doing before you do it. I understand what your manipulation tactics are. If you come at me with, I respect you and I respect your opinion, but I also think you're a fucking racist. Being polite in that first sentence does not take your dumbassery out of your second sentence. Your tone of voice does not affect me. Coming at me with passive rhetoric, a passive tone to placate me, will not work. No matter how nice you are about coming at me with a stupid argument, your argument is still dumb. It does not change the fact that your argument is not supported and contains excessive amounts of logical fallacies. Passive rhetoric will not free you from my scrutiny. In fact, very few rhetorical techniques will affect me in any way. Because I know what you're doing, you aren't slick. And even if you don't know what you're doing, I know what you're doing. These last two might go on for a long time, but they are some of the most annoying that I've come across. This next pet peeve is a big monster pet peeve that includes so many other pet peeves wrapped into one. Basically, all responses to me deleting comments. Let's get one thing straight. This channel is my property. Hypothetically, let's say there is a man cooking meth in your front lawn. You have every right to tell the man to leave or call the police to get this man escorted off your property because he's cooking meth on your front yard and you have every right to what goes on your property. There seems to be this entitlement on the internet, this idea that all comment sections are public spaces. They aren't. The very function that lets me delete comments or turn them off altogether is an indicator that it is not a public space. Whoever owns the platform that you decided to comment upon has every right to ban you from doing so, delete you, or to turn off comments altogether, because it is their property. I see this channel as my front lawn. It's my property. Sure, the bank, aka YouTube, might still have a little bit of a loan on it. But other than that, if you come waltzing onto my property, sit down and start cooking meth, I have every right to kick you out. Your entitlement of my comment section is buffoonery. It speaks of this culture on the internet where people can just say whatever the fuck they want to say, wherever they want to say it. Newsflash, buddy, not everything is a public space. And that's the overarching argument I have for that. I have every right to delete any comment I want, whenever I want. You have no say in that, and saying you do implies that the comment section is a public space, when it's in fact my front yard. I've been called immature for deleting comments. Maybe so. Do you think that if I cared what you thought about me deleting your shitty comment, I would have deleted your shitty comment in the first place? I don't care what you think of me, and it's quite ironic that people will call me immature for telling them not to cook meth on my front yard, especially after I deliberately and specifically told you what would get deleted. That one's my favorite, by the way. I warned you that your comment would be deleted. I walked up to the man that wants to make meth on my front yard, and I said, hey, don't make meth on my front yard, or I'm going to call the police. I gave you a warning, and yet you still continued to comment and call me immature. Oh, the irony. While I do not care whether or not you think I'm immature, you can go fuck yourself. You mean nothing to me. I just think it's funny that you aren't addressing your own immaturity. Like a fussy child having a tantrum, you continue to do the exact thing I told you not to do out of stubbornness and entitlement. You deserved to get your comment deleted, and I'll do it so many more times if I see them, which, by the way, I don't remain vigilant in front of the computer waiting for a new comment to delete. There are videos which I have not looked at their comment sections in months. That disclaimer is for people that are commenting while I am looking at the comments. If I'm looking at the comments and I see something that I think is dumb, harmful, whatever the fuck, you're getting deleted. And any argument against that is an entitlement to my comment section. You feel entitled to my comment section because it's on YouTube. YouTube itself might be a public space to post content, but the channels on which the content are posted are private property. I've also gotten people calling me cowardly and that my argument is unsupported and I'm just too much of a wimp to fight you. Once again, I don't really care what you think of me, because in the end, you look like a big dumbass to me as well. But insinuating that because someone won't fight you and would rather opt to just get rid of you and ignore you and your buffoonery is cowardly, insinuates that every time someone wants to have a conversation with me, a debate with me, an argument with me, that I must comply. That if I do not argue with this person, I'm unsupported and everything I say is bullshit. If I don't want to waste my time and energy on a buffoon, I don't have to. Because in the end, most of the time when I try to give people a second chance to redeem themselves, it is usually a time waster. And I'm learning that very quickly, so I'm probably not gonna do it anymore. Petition for Nick to just respond snarkily to dumb people, because I want to do it really badly, and I think I'm gonna. Just for shits and giggles. No other inherent reason. I just find it funny. Nobody is obligated to fight you. Then why make the videos in the first place? I don't make videos to fight people. Once again, if someone has an add-on or a qualifier to the conversation, that's encouraged because I may not get to everything in the video. However, I do not make the video to debate, especially people with basic-ass counterclaims that I've debunked hundreds of times in the past, and maybe even in the video itself, but you weren't listening. You have no right to demand that I give you my time to argue with you in a debate that is going to go nowhere, because it's obvious we're either trying to prove the other wrong or try to change the other's views, but it's obvious neither of us can do that. So, what's your point in commenting on someone else's property? Just because someone won't debate you, just because someone won't entertain your buffoonery, does not mean that they're cowards or that they know their opinion is too unsupported to take me on. No, I could take you on fairly easily. The problem is that you're hopeless, A, and B, I don't have to. You need to pay me a whole fuck ton of money, and then I will entertain your bullshit. If I try to give you a second chance, it's out of the goodness of my heart. But unfortunately, the goodness of my heart tends to betray me, because you were hopeless to begin with. And my favorite one, which is its own pet peeve in itself, people like to say, you just don't like other people's viewpoints. You just don't like viewpoints that are not your own. That's why you delete comments. There are some things that you do not get to have a discussion about. Whether or not trans people are valid is not a discussion you get to have. Imagine thinking the validity of a person and their existence is a discussion we get to have. You're just a privileged fucko that thinks human lives are a fun debate. Human lives are not a fun debate. And if you think so, I don't want you within 50 feet of me. Unless, of course, you would like to joust behind Denny's at 3 a.m., in which case, I'm down. And when I tell people their viewpoints are stupid, that is not because your viewpoint is different than mine. That's because your viewpoint is, in fact, stupid. The whole idea that certain people just don't like your viewpoint. It's not necessarily that they don't like it. It's not necessarily that your viewpoint is different from mine. In fact, if you have a different viewpoint than mine, that is some galaxy brain shit that I have not seen before, that's awesome. And I implore that you share. It's just that your viewpoint is stupid. It's not that you have a different viewpoint from me. Eli, my trans friend from the trans video, has had different viewpoints from me in the past, but they have given me some galaxy brain opinions and arguments on certain things that have changed my views on that. But you need to be on Eli's level to do that. If you are not on Eli's level, chances are you cannot do that. You can't change my viewpoint unless you're on Eli's level of education and understanding of the topic. So it's not that your viewpoint is different. I've encountered different viewpoints that I've considered, talked over, and adopted. It's that your viewpoint is stupid, unsupported, and makes you look like Boo Boo the Fool. My channel is not your platform for your oppressive viewpoints. If I do not want to be the means by which you spread your dumbassery, then I do not have to be. Go find a different platform or make your own. I can't stop you then. Basically, my channel, my business. I can do whatever the fuck I want when I want, and what you think about it doesn't matter. The last one, in which I might actually get a bit more angry. Just for irony purposes, but we'll see. My biggest pet peeve is respectability politics. Oh my god, the buffoonery in respectability politics is astounding. I'm going to read the definition just because I feel like this would explain it better, and then I'll simplify it real quick. Respectability politics, or the politics of respectability, refers to attempts by marginalized groups, or even the oppressor, to police their own members and show their social values as being continuous and compatible with dominant values, rather than challenging the mainstream for what they see as its failure to accept difference. On my end, respectability politics is tone policing. However, respectability politics is a lot more complicated than that. It's basically just saying, hey, you, the marginalized person, it's your fault that people won't listen to you. Not that the oppressor should change, and that we should challenge these values that indicate whether or not your argument or statement can be respected, but you, as the marginalized, should change to fit the oppressor's views of what's okay. That's bullshit. Marginalized people, you do not have to conform to the oppressor's view of how you can spread your message, act, etc. You do not need to conform to the oppressor's view. And if you do, and try to force others to, solely based on the fact that you just want to be accepted in society, and this is the only way to do it, not only are you a coward, but you're also wrong. It won't help you. They're going to oppress you whether or not you are angry about giving your message, or if you're more polite about giving your message. They're going to oppress you no matter what. The way the message is spoken does not change the message. It only changes the tone of the message, which is what people want to fight me on. They don't like the way I speak. There's been people in the past that have just called me aggressive, which that's whatever. And then there are other marginalized people saying, I don't like the way you spread your message because it's mean. And therefore people won't listen to us and give us rights because you're mean. They won't give us rights not because the marginalized group is mean, but because the oppressor is oppressing you. It is never the marginalized person's fault for being marginalized. Never. It is the oppressor's fault and the oppressor's fault only. Telling me that my tone is the reason that people are oppressed is quite possibly the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life for several fucking reasons. My message does not change depending on how watered down it is or not. I am going to tell you what it is with my natural voice. And by the way, this idea of respectability politics, tone policing if you want to get more specific, completely ignores and does not address people that just have a natural monotone voice. I'd say about 60 to 70% of the time, I do not mean to be sarcastic or deadpan. That is just how I speak. I speak like this, not out of intention, but it is the natural tone of my voice. I am not going to put extra work, which drains me a lot, by the way, to put on my customer service voice for you, because you like to lick the oppressor's asshole, or, in the oppressor's case, because you're a fucking pansy. Putting on my customer service voice takes a lot of energy. If you want a watered-down version of the message, go somewhere else. I'm not responsible for you. The only thing that changes is that you're a bussy. If you cannot handle the way I give the message, you're just a pansy. You are rhetoric's bitch. Rhetoric is a form of manipulation, and being able to spot rhetoric is a very, very good skill to have, because then you could just cut out all the bullshit immediately. telling me to water down my tone, which is my natural tone of voice, may I repeat, is disrespectful to people with a natural tone of voice like this, but it also just means that you're a fucking bussy. If you want me to spread the message like I'm talking to a 3-year-old, you want me to sugarcoat it, want me to water it down, I'm gonna need you to pay me. Once again, I don't get paid enough for this. If you cannot look past the tone and to the message itself, you are rhetoric's bitch. My God, when I say liberals are pansies, I fucking mean it. The only thing I've ever agreed with a conservative on. You look at a liberal wrong and they just fall to the ground and have a tantrum like a 3-year-old. Feelings are an important part of the debate, but there is a certain point where feelings are not necessary. You are just a pansy and not worth my time if you cannot handle my tone of voice. Yes, I do know that sometimes people are more likely to listen if you water it down for them because they're a bitch baby. I know that. The problem is I don't care, and I'm trying to break down that societal concept. I'm definitely going to cut back on trying to give people a second chance, because my success rate is very little. I guess the goodness in my heart just wants to give you one more chance to redeem yourself before I automatically disregard you as a dumbass. I had to make this video before the other controversial videos came up. Yikes.